Hello everyone. So I haven't done a sit down video in what feels like forever, so I don't even know how to start this. But I'm going to do my second trimester recap. I wanted to keep up with this pregnancy on YouTube more, just so really I have the memories, because I look back on my old videos and I forget these things happened, and it's so nice to have it on camera. Sorry if the angle keeps changing, but I feel like the video is tilted, but what can I do? I wanted to keep up with this pregnancy more, but now it's coming to an end and I feel like I didn't. So I'm going to do a second trimester recap. I am 32 weeks now, so I'm pretty far out of the second trimester, but I did take notes. And I think your second trimester ends at 27 weeks and 1 day, whatever. I didn't consider myself out of the second trimester until 28 weeks, just because I like to feel like things are done to completion and I'm not saying things are over when they're not. If I'm 32 and a half weeks, I say I'm 32 weeks, I don't say I'm 33 weeks. It's just the way I operate. So just briefly, I do want to mention something from my first trimester that I didn't mention when I was making my announcement video. With my first trimester, when I was about 5 weeks, 4.5 weeks, very, very early, I had some spotting, which is very normal, dark spotting, very, very normal. And I wasn't all too concerned about that. And it was one weekend. And then a few days later, it was a Tuesday, it was 3 days later, I had more spotting, which I was not too concerned about. But then when I went to the bathroom, I had a clot that passed, and it was the size of a dime maybe, but it was pinkish, reddish, it wasn't old, I could tell. Sorry if this is TMI, but once you're pregnant, it's nothing is off limits. Anyways, I had that little clot, and I was so sure I was going to have another miscarriage. I was okay, I'm bleeding, I passed this clot, this has to be a miscarriage, what else could this be? Because when you look up clots in your first trimester, it's basically all points to miscarriage. So I left work early that day, and I was let me get my first HCG test so that I know in 2 days if my HCG has gone down, then I'm having a miscarriage. Because at that point I was so early, I hadn't even gone in for the blood test. So I called the nurse's line, and I was on hold with them for 4 hours, literally, I'm not even kidding. And I had got the blood work done in the meantime and all this stuff. And when the nurse finally answered, I told her what happened, and she was okay, well, I'm really not too concerned. If you haven't been bleeding since you passed that clot and that's the only thing that happened, I really wouldn't be too concerned. Go back in another day for another blood test and we'll let you know the results. And if you have no more spotting in the meantime, you really shouldn't be too concerned. So I felt a lot better, and I just remember me and Jesse were so scared to be having another miscarriage, and he felt so bad for me. And I just remember thinking okay, this pregnancy isn't going to work out. We're going to have to try again, and then that means my due date will be June or July or whatever. And I just was so sure in my head that I was not going to make it with this pregnancy. And then everything ended up being fine. After that day, I had no more spotting. My HCG was rising, but I did have lower progesterone. And this is just another thing I want to touch on, because I see it so much in the pregnancy groups I'm in when people have lower progesterone. Mine was an 8. And the average range for that point in time, because I was probably 5 weeks or so, was 10 to some really high number. And I was wow, I have an 8, that's so low. And I called the nurse's line, and the nurse was with our standards, that's really not low. It's on the lower spectrum or lower end of the spectrum, but it's not so low that we would prescribe anything. And I have heard that doctors won't really prescribe progesterone until you've had 3 miscarriages, but I'm why the hell would I want to wait to have 3 miscarriages? I already had 1. And my progesterone with my first pregnancy that had a miscarriage was actually way higher. It was 14. So for me, that was low progesterone. And I was okay. And then when I went back for another blood test, it was 9 or 10. Maybe it was a 9. It really wasn't any higher. And I spoke with my doctor and she wasn't concerned either. And I'm like, well, what the hell? Like, I'm concerned. So I did start using this progesterone cream on my stomach area, and I used it till like 12 weeks. And I told my doctor about it, and she's like, you know, honestly, like, it probably isn't doing anything, but if it makes you feel better, go ahead and keep using it. And I did, and everything ended up being fine. So I just want to throw that out there as like a positive story of having low progesterone and it not ending in miscarriage, because I see like all over these Facebook groups and forums, the second someone has low progesterone, they're like, go on progesterone suppositories or pills or whatever, like make your doctor prescribe them to you, and the doctor won't prescribe them. And I just want to say, like, I have one success story of not starting progesterone and it ended up being fine. And that's not to say that that'll be the case with everyone, but just so you do have a positive story out there of it all. So that's it, second trimester. So everyone says when your second trimester starts, it's like the clouds lift and you feel so much better. But unfortunately, I didn't stop throwing up every single day until like 25 weeks. So I was sick, you know, just the same as I was at the beginning of my pregnancy all the way until 25 weeks. I was on 2 medications for throwing up and nausea until 25-ish weeks, and around 25 weeks I stopped one of them because it was ungodly expensive, even with insurance, and I was like, okay, I really like don't feel that much different on it, so I'm going to stop it. And now I feel much better. But yeah, it didn't stop until 25 weeks. But I will say I was much more energized in my second trimester. My first trimester, it's not that I was so tired. I really wasn't tired, but I was so sick I couldn't eat, so that I had no energy. But my second trimester, even though I still really wasn't eating and I was sick, I had more energy, especially compared to the third trimester, now that I've experienced that. So unfortunately, I don't have a positive story with the morning sickness. It didn't go away until 25 weeks. And my morning sickness is actually night sickness. I throw up at night, and I still do throw up at night, maybe like once or twice a week, but it's not bad. It's like, now it's part of my routine. It doesn't bother me at all. It's crazy. Another thing about the second trimester, I felt like the 20 weeks period, so from 20 weeks to 30 weeks, so those 10 weeks, took forever. I feel like time was dragging because I so desperately wanted to be like past viability, which is 24 weeks, and then I wanted to be 30 weeks, and then I want to be, you know, 35 weeks. Like, I feel like I'm always pushing it, but I really feel like those 10 weeks took an astronomical amount of time, especially because I feel like looking back at my first trimester, it went by fast, even though I was so sick. I actually looked at my chart today at the doctor's office, and from my 9-week appointment to my 12-week appointment, I lost like 10 pounds, which is crazy. And then I gained it back, so don't worry. But yeah, I'm like, wow, I really was sick. You kind of forget. Definitely in my second trimester, I didn't feel her move until 19 or 20 weeks. And then even then it was like little like gas bubbles popping. A lot of people say it feels like butterflies in your stomach. I didn't feel like that. I felt like it, you know, that feeling you get in your like digestive system when you have to like pass gas. That's what it feels like a little pop. And that's what I was feeling around 19, 20 weeks. But until I started feeling her moving consistently, which was around 22, 23 weeks, I was still very nervous about having another miscarriage. Every time I went to the doctors, I was scared I wasn't going to hear her heartbeat. My sister gave me her old Doppler that she used when she was pregnant, and I started using that at home around 14 weeks, and that gave me such peace of mind. I cannot tell you how amazing it was to be able to reassure myself. Now I don't use the Doppler at home. I go based on her movements and kick counts to determine if everything's okay. But until you get to a certain point in pregnancy, that kick counts like don't mean anything. So I did use the Doppler a lot, and it helped me so much because I didn't go to the appointment now thinking, okay, what if her heart stopped beating? I knew it was beating because I just heard it last night. And it also really helped me and Jessie like connect to her, and helped Jessie especially because obviously like I feel so connected to her because I'm carrying her around and we do everything together. We go to work together, we do everything. But I feel like Jesse doesn't have that connection because obviously he's not carrying her. So hearing her heartbeat and stuff, I think really made it feel more real to him. And now that he can feel her move and stuff, I think that it's just a lot better. Like they feel more connected. But I can't recommend the Doppler enough. I know there's a lot of people who don't like to use, or not don't like to use it, but don't think people should use it because it can give you a false sense of security, which I agree with in your third trimester. You shouldn't go based on the heartbeat when you can do kick counts. But early on, when you can't tell if they're doing okay other than the heartbeat, I think it's great. As long as you can determine what the heartbeat is versus like your cord and your heartbeat, because all three sound very different. Again, I felt consistent movement around like 23-ish weeks, but then the movements felt like real movement around 25 weeks. So hold on, the brightness just like changed crazy. Yeah, around 25 weeks, her movements felt like, oh, that was a kick or that's a roll. And now her movements are huge, but that's like third trimester stuff. We also got a private ultrasound around 28 weeks. So I guess I'll talk about that in my third trimester recap. I don't want to jump the gun, but her movements became more consistent around 25 weeks. Like it was a daily thing that I felt, and it's totally reassuring. I also made myself so nervous around like 16 to 19 weeks because I hadn't felt anything. And I was like, oh my God, like she's not growing. She's too small. She isn't going to make it. I don't feel her moving, even though it's very normal to not feel movement until 20, 22 weeks even. Of course, I convinced myself she was not doing okay and messaged my doctor. And she was like, no, it's completely normal. It's very fine. You'll start feeling her probably around 20 weeks or so, which she was right. She was very spot on with that. So that felt good as well. And I remember around 18 weeks or so, I saw a girl's post in one of the Facebook groups I was in, which I have since left, and I feel so much better, that she went for her 20-week scan, and basically the baby, I guess, hadn't grown since like 14 weeks. It still had a heartbeat and all of that, but the baby was very behind size-wise. And I guess her doctor said, like, if the baby doesn't grow by your 24-week appointment, we'll have to discuss options and stuff like that. And that made me so scared. I was like, well, I haven't felt her move, and I don't feel like my stomach has grown, and I don't feel like anything has changed. Like, she's totally not growing. She's totally not moving. And I just think, like, the Facebook groups are great when you just want to be like, oh, like, who wants to throw up today, or who had their baby already. Like in the groups I'm in, a lot of people are having their babies, but it can make you more horrified. Like I honestly don't recommend joining those groups until like your second trimester. And even then, they're not necessary at all. And then another thing, at my 24-week appointment, she was measuring 27 weeks. So she was measuring 3 weeks ahead, and my doctor was like, okay, so don't be scared. Don't think like, okay, you're going to go into labor, but she's measuring ahead. And then at my 28-week appointment, she was measuring 28 weeks. So she said that's very normal. Like your baby can have a huge growth spurt and then sort of slow down for a few weeks. And then when you go to your next appointment, she's measuring just on track. And that's exactly what happened. And I had my 32-week appointment today, and she was measuring like 32, 33 weeks. So just right on track. So that did make me excited. I was like, okay, maybe if she measures big consistently, I'll have her in like mid-May or early May. But she slowed down, so looking like the end of May. And then lastly, towards the end of my second trimester, so 25, 26, 27 weeks, I'm still having nausea and vomiting, as I said. It never fully went away. I was never one of those people who woke up and felt brand new. I still, really, my meals, I eat less now than I ate before I was pregnant, for sure. I still have gained the appropriate amount of weight, but my meals are definitely not, like, I'm not eating like a pregnant person. Like, I wish I was. I wish I could go to dinner and be like, I want the buffalo chicken wrap with onion rings and fries and a Pepsi and eat it and feel good, I think I would immediately throw up. I can't eat. Like, it's very frustrating because I want to eat sometimes, but I can't. It's just like, it doesn't feel good. So I've still just been really doing small meals and like snacking more so. I don't really eat dinner every night. Most nights I don't eat dinner, I would say. I get enough calories throughout the day. I just eat like tiny little things. Bagels have been a godsend. Love bagels. Love donuts, muffins, like all breakfast pastries really are prime. And finally, I think I popped around 17 to 20 weeks. We had our office Christmas party. What was I? I was like 16 or 15 weeks. So I hadn't really popped yet, but I was showing for sure. And I was also like, I feel like I was showing a lot because like TMI, I was so violently constipated from the medicine I was on that I just looked like huge. And I was at work and someone, not one of my coworkers, said, "Oh my God, like you're huge. Like you must be due so soon." And I was like, I'm actually not due for like 25 more weeks or whatever it was. And I just remember feeling like, oh damn, like I'm going to get so big if I'm this big already. But then it went down after that. Like I was sort of back to a normal size for myself. And then around 17 to 20 weeks, I popped. And now there's no mistaking this for a pregnant belly. But I have heard that that's very normal, that you sort of show and then you'll go back to looking your normal self and then you'll pop. And that's exactly what happened to me. But around like 20 weeks, I was like, let me try on this pair of jeans just to see and like try the hack where you put like a hair tie through the buttonhole. No, those pants weren't getting up past my thighs. Like I have only gained, I'm not, again, not going to say the amount, but a very normal amount, not on the high end at all. And yes, of course, my stomach got bigger. My arms also got a little bigger, nothing crazy. My face, you know, is totally like more full, but my thighs, oh my God. It's like you think I'm carrying the baby in my thighs. Like what in God's name is happening to them? It's crazy. Like all my weight is in my thighs and my stomach. So I'm hoping after I give birth, obviously my stomach will go down and I'm never going to be that size again. And I really don't care. But like, I really hope my thighs go back to like more normal size for myself. And then I'll end on the fact that I didn't get any stretch marks in my second trimester. And I was very thrilled. And then I did get them recently. So I was like, oh, I am not going to get any stretch marks. This is crazy. Like I am beating the system here. I did get them. I actually don't have any on my stomach just yet, but I do have them on my upper thighs and like my hips on my back. Yeah, they are here. And it's just sort of something you have to accept. Like your body is growing to carry this life and it has to change, of course. And it happens to literally everyone. It happens to supermodels. And I think pretty much everyone gets stretch marks in pregnancy. And then, you know, some of them go away and some of them don't. And you just have to accept it. There's no way around it. So that's where I am with that. And I'm happy to report that like, I do have body image issues, especially before I was pregnant and earlier in my teen years, totally. And I still have them now, but I really do feel good in my pregnant body. Physically, my body hurts, but I feel like I do like my bump and I do enjoy the way my body has changed. And it's just an interesting process to me. And I think it'll be interesting also to see my body go back to the way it was, like how long it takes and all of that. So it's totally a very big experience and a lot of feelings. So that's my second trimester update, and I will be doing a third trimester update shortly, I guess. I mean, I'm gonna try to film it around like 38 weeks. And then after I give birth, I'll film like, you know, what happened from 38 weeks to 40 weeks in a few days, you know? My doctor doesn't really let people go past like the end of your 40th week, so like 41 weeks. So if I don't go into labor, I would be induced by the end of my 40th week. but we're not even going to go there because I'm going to get this baby out 39 weeks. So that's sort of my plan for the rest of the pregnancy. I do want to do a nursery tour and all of those fun nursery or baby videos. My second trimester, I wasn't feeling good either. You know, I took a break from YouTube and it felt really good just to be able to relax and come home from work and go to bed and not have to work another job after my 9-hour office job. And I'm going on maternity leave in a few weeks, so there will be much more content, which I'm very excited about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're new here, please subscribe. Tons of mom content coming your way in just a few short weeks. And I guess I'll show you my bump before I go, even though this is a third trimester bump, not a second trimester one. But this is it. She is on and poppin'. For sure. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye. I'm stranded. I'm stranded.